Authentic Living. Copyright 2009, Tomislav Tomic. This ebook may be given away freely. It may not be sold. What everybody must know, including you. About creating a happy and fulfilled life. http://www.ancientsoftjoy.com. Contents. Inspirational thought. No. 1. Instant happiness, is that possible? 5. Inspirational thought. No. 2. The secret of enthusiasm. 9. Inspirational thought. No. 3. Positive and negative thinking are just labels. 13. Inspirational thought. No. 4. Joy as a measure of true success. 15. Inspirational thought. No. 5. Two kinds of desires. 17. Inspirational thought. No. 6. The conscious and unconscious approaches to creating reality. 21. Inspirational thought. No. 7. Is the world going for the worse? 23. Inspirational thought. No. 8. The importance of making clear decisions. 27. Inspirational thought. No. 9. Are you getting enough love? 30. Inspirational thought. No. 10. The hardest job in the world. 33. Inspirational thought. No. 11. Is there such a thing as enlightenment, and do you need it at all? 36. Inspirational thought. No. 12. Will you be happier when you accomplish your desires? 40. Inspirational thought. No. 13. What does success in meditation depends upon? 43. Inspirational thought. No. 14. Do you feel like the owner of your life? 47. Inspirational thought. No. 15. Coming into the world. 50. About the author. 53. Coaching and consulting. 54. Ancient keys of joy. 55. Inspirational thought. No. 1. Instant happiness, is that possible? How would you respond if I told you that you can be truly happy, right here and right now, regardless of who you are, where you are and what you are doing? Yes, you understood well. You can be happy here and now no matter what. I realize that this sort of approach can sound a little crazy at first, but the reason for that is that most of us have been raised to believe that you first need to meet 100 conditions before allowing yourself to be happy. Many people believe that they need to work really hard in life and achieve everything that is expected of them before they allow themselves the right to be happy. But you must be aware that no one ever lives to see the day. Why? Because happiness is the path, not the destination. We have been taught to see happiness as destination, not the path. But happiness is the path, not the destination. If you are not happy while you are traveling through life, reaching a certain destination, in other words, attaining goals, etc., will not give you what you wanted to experience before you embarked on the journey in the first place. Happiness is the path, not the destination. Remember this well and keep it in mind at all times. One of the reasons why many people do not understand what we have just said is that they do not understand what happiness really is. Many people confuse happiness with pleasure, but happiness and pleasure are two different things. You can be completely dissatisfied, and yet happy at the same time. Pleasure brings brief moments of satisfaction, while happiness is a lasting thing. Pleasure is always connected with fulfilling a certain desire, whereas the presence of happiness in our life has nothing to do with any desire we might have. Keep this in mind because it is a most fundamental approach toward life. The way you experience 99% of the things you do in life will depend on the way you think of the relationship between happiness and pleasure. I consider myself one of the most dissatisfied people in the whole world. No matter what I achieve, my sense of pleasure never lasts more than 3 days. I would even dare say that I am bored when I feel pleased. However, At the same time I am truly happy and I live filled with the sense of enthusiasm, joy, and inner peace. I clearly feel the sense and purpose of my life. I know that there is an endless source of joy and peace inside me, and I am aware that outward circumstances per se have nothing to do with that. Outward circumstances can have an effect on my life only if I allow them to have an effect. In the past I had been allowing outward circumstances to determine the quality of my life too much. The situation in the country, that was the time of the war in Croatia, other people's opinion of me and things like that played a great role in the way I felt. I found that to be most unsatisfactory and I realized that I would never be happy if I did not change the way I thought about life. I spent a long time thinking and searching for the right approach to happiness, until I realized that happiness is a state in which I am either in or not in. There is nothing in between. I am either traveling through life a happy man, or I am traveling through life an unhappy man with an occasional glimpse of relief and pleasure brought to me by the fact that I fulfilled a certain goal. I have to admit that meditation has been of great help to me, and I would recommend it to all those who wish to become conscious of what true happiness really is. Throwing away all concepts about the nature of happiness that I used to hold on to until then overnight was no easy task for me, but as time went by it became increasingly easy for me to embrace the idea that happiness is something that was already inside me and available to me at all times. It became increasingly easy to embrace the idea that happiness is nothing other than a question of my consciousness about what happiness is and the decision to be happy, right here right now. Being happy is a matter of your personal decision. Make the decision. Become happy here and now. Do not wait for any conditions to be met first, because you are the one creating them, whether you are aware of them or not. Become happy and conditions for happiness will be created around you. Do not take my word for it, try it for yourself. Give yourself a break and discard the myth of happiness being like a castle that is being built gradually, and that it takes a long time to become happy. Rest assured that, when it comes to happiness, the factor of time becomes totally relative. Being happy or not is a matter of our understanding of what happiness truly is, which is followed by our decision and choice. Even though all this sounds very simple, it does not mean that it is easily applicable. Our minds tend to constantly return to the old habits and ways of thinking. And as soon as we make the decision to be happy, our minds keep finding the arguments to convince us that we are wrong and that we are wasting our precious time. It often points to current situations in our life whose existence should pull us away from the idea that we should become happy and tries to convince us to leave the times of happiness for a situation when the circumstances are more suitable. Let us now get back to the title of this article, Instant Happiness, Is That Possible? The correct answer is, not only is it possible, but it is the only way. You are either happy, or you are not happy. There is no transitional phase. Make an instant decision. And have a happy journey. Inspirational thought no. 2. The secret of enthusiasm. Did you know that the word enthusiasm comes from the ancient Greek words enantheos, which mean, in spirit? When we are in spirit, that is aligned with the spirit, we feel alive. When we are in spirit, we are filled with energy. When we are in spirit, we feel a sense of purpose and passion for life, and everything that we see gets a deeper meaning. The secret of enthusiasm is being in spirit, in other words, being in harmony with your spiritual self. Being in harmony with your spiritual self means being in harmony with what we truly are, because our true nature is indeed spiritual. Essentially, we are not physical beings who are able to experience spiritual things. Rather, we are spiritual beings who have come to experience the physical. Keep this in mind at all times. Being in harmony with your spiritual self is a lot easier than most people think. Unfortunately, many people think that living in accordance with one's spiritual self has been predestined for some, while others have been deprived of such a possibility. Fortunately, the truth is completely different. There is nothing easier than living in harmony with what we really are. And, there is nothing harder than not living in harmony with what we really are. If you can read this article and understand its content, then you too can be in spirit, and you can integrate enthusiasm into your daily life easily and joyfully. The secret is in consciousness, that is awareness. All matter that exists in nature now also existed several thousand years ago, but due to our lack of awareness of their full potential we have not been able to create various things that are now common in everyday use. Henry Ford did not invent new materials in nature and use them to make a car. Instead, he just used the existing elements and put them together in such a way that nobody has done before, thus inventing a motorized vehicle. His invention was deemed a miracle in his time, but today nobody thinks about it in such terms. The question today is what car to choose. At first, it might sound too trivial a comparison, but I guarantee you that something similar is happening with enthusiasm in your life. The more you become aware of your spiritual self, the endless source of enthusiasm becomes more accessible and clearer to see. But how do you become conscious of your spiritual self? The first step is to leave at least some room in your mind for accepting the idea that your true nature is spiritual. Reflect on such a possibility every day. Then you can start expressing your intention of becoming aware of your spiritual self. You need to know that the universe, God, higher self, creator or whatever you wish to name this intelligence, hears your every intention and is ready to give you all the help you need at any given time. Express a mental statement several times a day in which you will express to the universe your intention to become aware of who you truly are. Make your statement brief and simple, something along the lines of, I intend to become aware of my spiritual self, or, it is my intention to become aware of my true nature, and that will be quite sufficient. Do not try to anticipate the time and the way that the process of becoming conscious is going to develop itself. You do your part, and let the universe do its. Just like there is no question that the morning will come after the night, in the same way the universe, as soon as it hears your intention, will send you the right answers. You are probably wondering, how will I know whether I am receiving the right answers? You will know by the feeling of enthusiasm which will be activated at the very thought about certain things. As soon as you feel enthused about a certain idea, that means that your idea is resonating vibrationally with your spiritual essence. Follow such ideas and every day do everything that is in your power to make them come true. Do not wait or delay. Know that becoming aware is not something that happens once and then you're done, it is a lifelong process. The more we make ourselves aware, the clearer it becomes to us what our place is in life and what our purpose was in coming to this world. The more aware we become, the greater feeling of happiness and peace we will have. The more aware we become, the better our lives will become in all areas. Now you know the secret of enthusiasm. Go ahead and apply it daily and you will live in spirit more and more. Inspirational thought no. 3. Positive and negative thinking are just labels. People tend to think that positive and negative thinking refers to thoughts that are positive or negative in and of themselves. However, this is not so. Positive or negative thinking is simply a certain way of thinking, and is not related to any specific thoughts. Positive or affirmative thinking means thinking only those thoughts that are aligned with the reality we wish to create, thinking those thoughts that affirm the reality we wish to create. Thought is energy. Energy in and of itself is neither positive nor negative. There is no thought that is solely positive or negative. A thought becomes positive or negative only when we determine what kind of reality we desire in our lives. Therefore, if you desire a life of abundance, thinking about the idea that money flows abundantly into your life is positive, since it supports, that is affirms, your desire for financial abundance. However, to a monk who has made a vow of poverty, thinking about money coming into his life in abundant quantities is a negative thought. Why? Because it negates the reality he wishes to create. In order for the monk to act affirmatively, positively, in accordance with his vow, he would have to entertain thoughts that support his poverty. Therefore, don't accept preconceived notions of what is positive or negative, but rather, take a look into your heart and become conscious of what it is that you truly desire to create, and then act positively towards that end. Such an approach is the only guarantee that, having received what you wanted, you will have received what you expected to receive, and will have fulfilled the initial reason for having begun to create that specific reality. You have a mind in order to use it, and not so someone else can think for you. Inspirational thought no. 4. Joy as a measure of true success. Success is something we seek naturally. No one likes or wishes to be unsuccessful. However, true success is an entirely personal matter, and depends exclusively upon us. True success always brings joy, inner peace and growth with it. The more joy and peace we have in our lives, the greater the success. Success isn't primarily based on the things you own or on the social acceptance you have. What's the use of having something if it isn't something that truly fulfills you and brings you joy? Unfortunately, it seems few people think this way. Look around you. Look at the number of people who seem to have everything one would want, and yet something is desperately missing. Why? Many have been creating wealth their whole lives, simply in order to prove their worth to someone else, without paying attention to their heart desires and higher visions. Success isn't something that can be determined by other people's standards, only you can do this. You are the only person who knows your circumstances, your heart desires, and the possibilities open to you at any point in time. Only you know if you're truly successful or not. You can make the whole world believe that you're something you're not, but when you stand in front of the mirror, the person reflected in it always knows the truth. Only you are in touch with your own feelings, which clearly show you where you stand on the path of personal and spiritual growth. While one person may feel that success means becoming the president of a country, someone else might feel successful if they're able to create 3 extra hours during the day to do as they please, and even do nothing if they wish. While one person feels that success is becoming a millionaire, another sees a stable and fulfilling family life as the peak of success. We are all as different as we are similar. And that's wonderfully okay. The only measure of true success in your life is the amount of joy you feel every day. Inspirational thought no. 5. 2 kinds of desires. There are 2 kinds of desires. One kind is those desires which have been artificially created by society, while the other kind is those that come out of our hearts and are in harmony with our purpose in life. By applying adequate methods and exercising much perseverance you can achieve most of the desires that society has artificially created and imposed upon you, but achieving such desires can never allow you to experience what you were expecting to experience before you set out to achieve them. From our earliest days, the teachers in schools, politicians, and many other different authorities have been trying to create an image of what they think is best for us and impose upon us the vision of life which we should strive for. Religious teachers are trying to persuade us that only the religion they speak for is the right one, while all the others are wrong, of course. In other words, from our earliest days society is treating us like a huge flock in which we all should live in the same way, have the same ambitions, believe the same vision of God and strive for the same ideals. Many fall into such traps and live their entire lives in them. Once they realize that their life is not anywhere near what they thought it would be, they comfort themselves by thinking that God has meaningful reasons for why things are so, or they think that by living like that they are clearing out their past life karma. Though all of us have been through such phases in our lives to an extent, that does not mean that at this very moment we cannot take a different route and begin living the way we really wish to live. Every individual has the possibility and the freedom of choice to take a look into their heart and seek the answer to this question: why have I come here? Or, what is it that I have come to experience? In order to become aware of the desires of our hearts, we first need to become aware that we have such desires in the first place. Our awareness of the existence of these desires is a great step toward our consciousness of them. The second important factor in becoming aware of such desires is our intention to become conscious. If you are persistent enough in your intention to become conscious, it is just a matter of time when such desires will begin to flicker in you, making it perfectly clear to you that those are the desires of your heart. In becoming conscious of your heart desires and purpose in life in general, prayer can be of great help. Regardless of your religious background, praying just means talking to God/higher self/source/universe, or whatever you wish to name it, and nothing else. Praying does not mean that you need to be humble and kneel on your knees. Prayer is not doing what the prayer book in a certain religious group says, nor is it using standard forms or texts which are used for prayer. You can pray at any time and in any way that seems appropriate to you. I would even recommend that instead of the word prayer you use the phrase talking to God. Such phrasing is energetically much closer to what prayer should be. You do not need to belong to any religion or spiritual organization in order to have the right to talk to God. In the same way that you speak with any person that you are free to talk completely openly, you can also talk to God in the same manner. What we have said so far is literally all you need to know in order to begin praying. You can go and discover further steps based on your own experience. The more you practice prayer, the clearer and more comprehensive your communication with God will become. Another extremely efficient way of becoming conscious of the desires of your heart is meditation. When we talk about meditation, it is important to be aware of the differences between meditation techniques and the state of meditation. Techniques of meditation are active steps toward achieving the state of meditation, while meditation in itself is a state. Meditation is a state in which we feel completely connected to our spiritual self. It is in the state of meditation that we can experience most clearly the essence of what we hope to experience after we have achieved individual goals and desires, which is precisely why I personally consider meditation to be the most important tool in bringing consciousness of the energy that we are so eager to experience on Earth. Inspirational thought no. 6. The conscious and unconscious approaches to creating reality. Whether you like it or not, you are at this moment creating your own reality. Yes, even while you are reading this article. There are, however, two different approaches in creating reality. One approach is the unconscious approach. It is about people who do not use purposeful intention in creating what they wish to experience, but they exclusively react to the events that surround them and the decisions they make in accordance with that. Such people will never think about creating their lives according to their heart's desires, but will only go about following the existing standards of thinking and behavior. To exclude oneself from the generally accepted ways of thinking and choosing something that most people do not choose is an unacceptable option for them. People who are like that can never be happy because happiness and joy are only present in a person who follows the way of their heart regardless of whether the path has been trodden before or not. Unlike the unconscious approach, the conscious approach is chosen by people who have decided to create their own reality in the way they want to experience it. They are not burdened with questions like, has anybody walked this path before? Or, is this road a safe road to walk on? But instead they walk boldly toward achieving the highest vision of their lives. They know that they have come to this planet with a certain purpose, and they are aware that if they want something deep down in their heart, they can make it come true as well. They know that the origin of all our true desires possesses all that is necessary for manifesting such desires. They never compare themselves to others, they only compare themselves as they are to themselves as they wish to become. Speaking of their life's circumstances, no matter how pleasant they are, they do not regard them as a given nor do they take them for granted, but they realize that they alone have created circumstances to be such as they are, and that they continue to create them. They are aware that their circumstances are but a reflection of what is inside them. Which approach to creating reality do you prefer? Inspirational thought no. 7. Is the world going for the worse? This morning before I went to work I went for a cup of coffee to a cafe near the office I work in. After he served me, the bartender kept trying to find out the reason why I am so well disposed. I replied that there was no particular reason for it. Obviously, he didn't believe me and kept asking me to tell him the reason because he wished to hear at least some good news for the day. He told me how depressed he was about this world going for the worse and that he is looking forward to every piece of good news to make him feel a little better. When I asked him why he thought the world was going for the worse, he replied that it is enough to read the newspaper or watch the news on TV and see very clearly that something is happening to this world and that everything is going wrong. He was so convinced of his attitude that I felt it was pointless to try and change the subject of our conversation. Besides, I had to go to the office, where my clients waited for me. On my way to the office I began thinking about his views on life. He was completely convinced that what he had read in the papers or seen in the news was the only reality there is. Be as it may, I was very surprised by his choice. Putting his own life at the mercy of news reporters who purposefully choose to fill newspapers and television news with information which is aimed at intimidating people and maintain fear levels only in order to keep as many viewers and readers as possible? And pay them for it? I must admit that I even feel a sort of respect for editors of certain newspapers and TV news because they have practically brought the art of manipulation to virtual perfection. But, no matter what we think about the matter, those editors and journalists are doing their jobs completely legally and they are trying to find the best ways to attract and keep their viewers and readers. It is not their fault that many people don't even bother to think but just accept the information that is served them without any questions whatsoever. No doubt, the world is going for the worse. For those who consume stories like that, stories filled with violence, deceit, and fear. As long as they accept this way of thinking and looking at the world, they really cannot accept anything else. Long ago, the ancient wise men have left us a message, and quantum physics has confirmed it, that our way of thinking causes the reality which we experience. We become that which we think about. Our world can indeed go for the worse or for the better, but that is related to our way of thinking and looking at the world. In order to change our reality, it is necessary that we change the way we look at life and people around us, and that we become completely independent in our way of thinking and the process of forming our own attitudes. Be brave and bold, and dare to think and talk about what you want and believe you are entitled to. It does not matter what others think about it. It does not matter what the news and newspapers say. Do not be afraid to ask what belongs to you. Even if nobody around you thinks this way, do not let that stop you. Everybody has a path of their own, so you do not need to expect people to adapt to you. Fear is man's worst enemy. Nobody else has destroyed so many wonderful dreams as fear has done. Nobody ever destroyed so many wonderful opportunities as fear has done. We become that which we think about, said Buddha several thousand years ago. Change your way of thinking and the world around you will change as well. The newspapers and news will still be full of negative stories and contents. But if you stop paying attention to them and you change your way of thinking in a way that you deal only with those thoughts which lead toward the reality that you wish to create and then experience, your life will become more and more a wonderful melody that never ends. Only think about that which you wish to experience in your reality. Others' thoughts are simply to be rejected. Period. Inspirational thought no. 8. The importance of making clear decisions. The universe in which we live in is a field of endless possibilities. Whatever you imagine, it can really exist. The only limitation there is the one you have created in your mind. This is precisely the reason why we can only experience in our reality that which can be expressed through us. Our dominant convictions form channels through which universal energy can flow, helping us to experience a manifestation of universal energy that flows through us in accordance with our convictions. Whatever comes in, comes out as well. The reality which you experience is just a mirror reflection of what is in you and through which the universal energy flows. Just change what is inside you, and you will be experiencing a different reality. That is precisely the reason why it is crucial to make a clear decision about the reality you wish to experience. Only when you have made a clear decision about the reality which you want to experience will you be influencing the energies around you in a way for them to start forming according to your decision. Making a clear decision about the reality you wish to have is one of the most important things you can do for yourself. Making a clear decision is the most wonderful gift you can give yourself. The clearer the decision, the more aligned with your decision will the reality you experience be. Making a clear decision means completely closing your mind to all other options except the one you have decided to accept. Once you have made the clear decision in your mind, nothing else exists other than that which you have decided for. Making a clear decision means agreeing to deal only with those thoughts whose contents are in line with your decision. However, making a clear decision about the reality you wish to experience is no easy process. It is very serious business, and if you don't take it seriously like you would any important project, you can just forget the whole thing. As soon as you have made a clear decision, you will begin to search for arguments around you that support the decision you have made, and you will naturally be inclined toward manifesting that which you have decided to experience. With enough perseverance, your decision must become the reality which you are experiencing. Make a clear decision about the reality you want to experience and take full responsibility for such a big step. Do not just rely on divine provision, waiting for a heavenly sign to start doing things. You need to understand that divine provision as most people understand it does not exist. God/originator/higher self/creator wishes to help you and be at your disposal at all times, but you must understand that he will not do your part for you. Imagine a situation where a parent does his child's homework instead of his child. That would be harmful, wouldn't it? Any responsible parent realizes full well that they need to let the child do their own homework, and that they are only to help the child if they see that the child has done their best in their efforts to do the homework. Many things in our lives happen along the lines of the same principle. A clear decision is a presupposition for any kind of progress in any area. Individuals who are determined will advance in all areas of their interest, whereas those who are undetermined stagnate more and constantly complain about how hard and unjust life is. So make a clear decision about your life as you want it to be, and then stick with it. Inspirational thought no. 9. Are you getting enough love? Have you ever felt like you deserved more love than what you are receiving right now? If your answer is yes, you need to know that there is a very simple and efficient way to deal with that sort of situation. The secret is in the verb give. If you feel that you are not receiving enough love, no matter who the person is you are expecting love from, all you need to do in order to change the situation to your advantage, is to give more love to everyone around you. We live in a universe which works according to the principle of cause and effect. Everything we experience is just a consequence of what we have given, that is the vibrations which we have emitted into the universe. If you are unhappy with what you are receiving from the universe, it is time to change your approach. When you are giving love, you are oriented toward the energy of love and you are connecting with it accordingly. The more time you spend in connection with the energy of love, the more you attract this energy into your life. Bear in mind that similar things are always and without exception attracted to one another. You cannot give love and keep your focus on something else. Your mind is capable of thinking about anything, but you are unable to think several different thoughts at one given time. When you are giving love, your mind is exclusively oriented toward love. And that which you are oriented towards is what you are attracting into your life. Talking about the subject, I think it is important to point out something else. Love and freedom are inseparable partners. In order to be able to feel love for anything, it is necessary that the sense of freedom be with you too. If the love you are feeling is conditioned by certain types of behavior by anyone except yourself, you will be unable to feel freedom because on a subconscious level you realize that what you feel does not depend on you but on somebody or something outside of yourself. In that case you will constantly be followed by a sense of insecurity and fear from the potential possibility which is not in line with what you wish. But when you realize that the love you wish to feel depends only on you in the sense that you will be receiving the same quality and quantity that you are giving, then you become free. Isn't that great? You are the master of your own destiny and you are free at any moment to choose how much love you will give. So, now you know what you need to do when you feel you are receiving less love than you think you deserve. Give. Inspirational thought no. 10. The hardest job in the world. What do you think is the hardest job in the world? Is it being a surgeon? Lawyer? Priest? Professor? Musician? Writer? Policeman? Personally, I think that the hardest job in the world is forming the habit of thinking about the particular kind of reality that we wish to experience. By that I do not mean just the moments when we are feeling all right and we think everything is great. Rather, I am referring to thinking about it during the entire day regardless of what is happening around us. But, why is it so hard to think constantly about what we want to experience? If there is something that we love and desire for, would it not make sense if it were the one and only focus of our thoughts? Thinking about what we love and want in our lives can often be very hard precisely because we have not been taught to think that way. Indeed, not many people have had a chance to be taught from their early childhood that the way we think and look at the world is the crucial factor in creating the things which we experience in our lives. From our earliest days we learn to listen, hearing people complaining about life's circumstances and blaming others for the problems they have. Without questioning, we are beginning to accept the patterns of thinking handed down to us by our parents, teachers, politicians, priests, and others, and accepted them as our own. Such adopted ways of thinking have brought us into the reality that we are experiencing, and our experience of such reality has only strengthened our beliefs which created the reality in the first place. We have all heard people say, "Have I not told you so? Listen to me, I know better." We have been taught to see things that have happened in our life as givens which cannot be changed, and that the best way to deal with it is to figure out how to blend into this given reality. Be as it may, be aware that what we call our reality is not something that is happening independent of us, but our reality is a direct consequence of the thoughts we have been engaging in the most. If you wish to alter the reality you live in right now, you must change your way of thinking, and as a consequence of the change in your thought pattern you will experience a new reality which will be in harmony with your new way of thinking. However, thinking about what we want is not hard for the reason that it is objectively hard. Instead, it is hard because we have developed a long-term habit of thinking and talking about the things we do not wish to have in our lives. How do we change this habit? We can change this habit by practicing every day how to focus our attention to that which we wish to create in our lives, no matter what the issue is. In the same way that we form our muscles by lifting weights, we can also create a new reality by focusing our attention on new thought patterns. The more you exercise, the easier and more fun it gets. The principle is the same, we are just dealing with a different kind of creating. Of course, it is clear that this is no easy task, but does that matter when your life is in question? The more you speak and think about what you wish to create and subsequently experience, the easier it will be for you to think even more about what you wish, and to take practical steps toward achieving your goals. So do your mental workouts daily in the sense that you need to create a gradual and conscious habit of thinking and speaking only of those things that make you happy. All other thoughts are simply to be rejected. They are not for you. Inspirational thought no. 11. Is there such a thing as enlightenment and do you need it at all? The term enlightenment has become very popular lately, and the desire for enlightenment has become a source of much profit for some people. Many claim that they possess a magic key for enlightenment, and they guarantee that, by using their methods and approaches, a person will surely attain enlightenment, and all in just a few months. Misinformed people who seek to better their lives take such methods for granted, hoping that one day they will perhaps even be enlightened themselves. Be as it may, I must admit that I do not see too many enlightened people around me, do you? But, let us first look into the reason why somebody would want to be enlightened in the first place. Are they not satisfied with their current situation in life? Maybe they have a feeling that there is something higher or better than what they have now? Or perhaps they simply blindly believe the authorities who claim that enlightenment just exists and that it is much more beautiful and better than the life they have lived so far. Of course, like with anything else, the reasons why people want to be enlightened are various, but I believe that, at least for the majority, all those reasons can be put under the same denominator, which is their feeling that they are not living their life to the full, or the feeling that life is passing them by. Because they see enlightenment as something that will make their life nicer and fuller, people just accept the paradigm that enlightenment is necessary. Without questioning the accepted paradigms, they strive for enlightenment without realizing what it really means. So, what does it mean to be enlightened? Does it mean that there will be no problems? Does it mean that we can start living our lives in endless joy and with complete inner peace? What does it mean to be enlightened, exactly? I will give you a brief reason why there is, basically, no such thing as enlightenment, why the term is contradictory in itself, and why nobody really needs to be enlightened. Enlightenment is just an ideal, and each ideal is like the horizon. We can see it somewhere in the distance, but as soon as come closer, it seems to keep getting further away from us, becoming nothing more than an unfulfilled desire. In order to get from point A to point B, we first need to know where it is that we are starting from, and where it is that we are heading to, that is our destination. If our goal is too vague or undefined, we will never get where we want to get, and the reason for it is that we do not really know where it is that we are trying to get to. There is an old saying which says that no wind can help the one who does not know where he is sailing. In order to become enlightened, we first need to define to ourselves what it means to be enlightened. But how do you define a thing like enlightenment? How do you crystallize a goal such as enlightenment? How do we define with our mind something that is outside of the mind? Can a fish give a precise description of life on the land? Setting for yourself a goal of enlightenment means to be wandering with no purpose. Yes, you understood well, wandering with no purpose. Because the goal which cannot be accurately described is no goal at all. So, in our search for enlightenment we can only rely on believing somebody whom we see as authority. However, in believing anybody whom we see as authority we negate our own intuition and common sense. The good news is that we do not need to become enlightened because we already are the light. That is the catch. We are the light. Deep down in our nature we are light, and we all know it. We didn't come to this gloomy planet by some mistake, and so we need to attain enlightenment to be free of it. Rather, we have consciously chosen to take part in the game of life which is happening here on Earth. It is no coincidence that we are here. There is no such thing as coincidence. There can only be our perception of the world and life as a sequence of random and unconnected events. There is no need to search for enlightenment. Instead, you should focus on finding a better way of expressing the light which is already in you in the best and most appropriate way. I will finish this article with a quote from the Upanishads: "There is a light that shines beyond all things on earth, beyond us all, beyond the heavens, beyond the highest, the very highest heavens. This is the light that shines in our heart." Inspirational thought no. 12. Will you be happier when you accomplish your desires? There are many people who live their lives in what an author called quiet desperation and hope that their lives will change when their circumstances in life change. Some of them expect they will be living a happy life once they have met a suitable partner or got promoted at work, while others think they will be happier once they have inherited some assets that they can cash in well. They let time go by and allow the sense of unfulfillment dominate their lives. They spend most of their time socializing with people who think in similar ways, which supports their belief to be right, because they see that the others also believe that reality is just the way it is. However, the main reason for this approach is lack of knowledge about the nature of desire. Fulfillment of our desires is not something our happiness should depend upon. Our happiness is one thing, and our desires are another. Desires are desires, and happiness is happiness, and we must not confuse one with the other. People often take brief moments of pleasure, which bring with them the fulfillment of a certain desire, and confuse them with happiness. However, the difference between the two is enormous. It is indeed so great that comparing these terms is meaningless. We are already in possession of inside ourselves an endless source of happiness, and we do not need a reason to be happy. Being happy is a matter of consciousness, and not of fulfilling a certain desire. When you become conscious that the endless fountain of joy and happiness is inside you, your outlook on desires and happiness changes completely. Instead of being a person who struggles hard to fulfill their desires in order to feel happier in life, you will become a person who travels through life with joy, and fulfilling new desires is just a new perspective which you are using to form new desires. Instead of fulfilling your desires being the prerequisite for the quality of your life, you will begin to live without imposing any such conditions upon yourself. Instead of being a slave to desires, you will be playing with them and enjoying the game. Desires are a wonderful thing, especially if they stem out of the depths of our hearts. The main role of desires is to enable us to express ourselves in the world that we live in. However, if we accept the idea that it is impossible for us to be happy unless we have fulfilled a certain desire, we are putting ourselves in a hopeless situation because it is impossible to live without having desires. Therefore, keep in mind that there is a difference between happiness, which is always present inside you, and pleasure, which comes as a consequence of fulfilling a certain desire. Even though they look similar at first, the difference is indeed enormous. Inspirational thought no. 13. What does success in meditation depends upon? Since the very first time I came across meditation, I realized that I was dealing with something special and extraordinary. Although I did not have the slightest idea as to what was happening while I meditated, I still practiced meditation regularly and I was experiencing wonderful things. I would often take part in different courses and workshops dealing with meditation, where I met many people who had a similar interest. However, even after a short while I noticed one thing that was never quite clear to me. Many people were attending the workshops in the hope that a new technique they had come to learn would give them better results than the one they were practicing until then. They felt that the responsibility for their progress in meditation lay in the meditation technique itself. In time I began to realize that, even though we had seemingly similar interests in attending various conferences, the real reasons for our coming there were quite different. I would come and attend such conferences expecting to learn something new that would help me on my way of meditation and that would help improve my entire understanding of the process of meditation. The majority of other people, and I realized that from the conversation that we had together, were searching for a different method that would help them be more successful in meditation than with the method they had been using thus far. If you feel like one of those people who are constantly searching for new methods of meditation because the method which they are currently practicing is not providing them with satisfactory results, you can be sure that in 99% of all cases the lack of good results of meditation is not a result of the method you are using, but in your approach. Yes, you understood well, the issue is your approach. I understand that each method is characteristic for their different emphases, but still I say that the main reason why a person is not making sufficient progress in meditation is their lack of commitment to meditation. By lack of commitment I do not mean spending several hours a day meditating, but rather the very approach to meditation. If you are completely committed to something, that means that your attitude toward it says, I will do this no matter what. Other options are of no interest to me, period. With an approach like that and 20 minutes of meditation a day, you will be getting far better results than if you spend several hours a day meditating without the same kind of approach. Time in itself is pretty relative term, and even more so when you enter the realm of meditation, which happens, in essence, when we get connected to the vibration level in which time definitely has no existence. Nobody can guarantee that you will have more intense meditational experiences when meditating for 10 minutes as opposed to spending 2 hours in meditation. The logic which is applied in everyday life loses its adequacy when it comes to meditation. Meditation reveals its secrets only to those who are truly committed to it. And trust me, this secret has nothing to do with the method you are using nor with how many minutes or hours you spend meditating. So, if you are not happy with the current results of your meditation, instead of focusing on a new method that will help you get better results, you should rather be focusing on what it is that is hindering you from becoming fully committed to meditation. Question yourself. Let those questions be present in your mind until you feel that the right answer is coming, and when you feel it coming, stop asking questions and be open to receive an answer. When you feel that you have received an answer, apply it immediately. Do not delay it for even a moment. Repeat the same procedure every time you feel that there is some sort of break in your progress. All that we wish to experience is in existence even now. If it were not, we would not be able to wish to experience it. The only reason why we still do not have the experience that we are striving for is our approach. Change your approach and your experience will change as well. Of course, here it applies to approaching meditation, but it can be applied to other areas in life just as well. Inspirational thought no. 14. Do you feel like the owner of your life? Though the term ownership is something that most of us encounter on a daily basis, just for this article let's try and define what it means to be an owner of something. For example, if you own your car, that basically means that you have the right to decide whether you will drive it or not, when and how long you want to drive it, whether you wish to rent it, sell it, lend it, offer it as gift, use it as a deposit, paint it in a different color, take it to the junkyard, etc. In other words, you have the right to use it in any way you like without the need to ask for anybody's permission for it, or even to think about whether you need somebody's permission or not. Now that we've defined roughly what it means, let me ask you the following questions. Do you feel like the owner of your life? Do you feel like you can dispose with your life and create your reality according to the wishes of your heart? Without the need to ask for anybody's permission for it, or even to think about whether you need somebody's permission or not. If there is in your heart a deeply felt desire that you feel is a right one, but you don't feel free or capable of accomplishing your goal on your own without receiving a permission from the people you spend a lot of time with, then you definitely do not feel like the owner of your own life. Unfortunately, many people had given up living their dreams just because they did not have the approval of the people they were in close relationships with. They allowed others to destroy the vision of the life they felt was a right vision. One of the basic conditions for you to be able to properly exercise your ownership over things you own is your own awareness that the matter in question is indeed owned by you. Only when you become aware that the thing really belongs to you, will you be able to dispose of it as its owner. Only when you become aware that the thing you call, my reality, is something that depends solely upon you and that you are the single person who molds it, only then will you be able to call yourself the owner of your life. But how do you develop this awareness of owning your life? There are numerous ways to do it, but one of the most efficient ways in my opinion, is meditating on a regular basis. Meditation can be a great help in becoming aware of one's own self, and the more aware we are of ourselves, it becomes clearer who we really are. You are the owner of your life, and the sooner you become aware of it, the sooner will you be able to start enjoying the benefits of ownership. Inspirational thought no. 15. Coming into the world. There are numerous theories which tell us about how we came into this world. Some of them are similar to one another, while others are quite contradictory. However, no matter how we came, it is undisputable that we have come without any attitudes about life whatsoever. Through increasing interaction with our environment, our mind has been like a sponge and it soaked in all available information, and that is how we began forming our view of life. That is why it is no wonder that children often adopt the behavior patterns of their parents and other persons who have had a big impact on their upbringing. I am asking you to consider the following. If you had been born in a culture other than this one, your entire perception of people and the world around you would be utterly different than the perception you have right now. Does this tell you anything? Bearing in mind what we have just said, I challenge you to spend 10 minutes thinking about one of the following questions. Choose the one you find most appealing. Are you able to take responsibility for the fact that the reality which you are now experiencing, no matter how real it feels, is just a reflection of all your combined attitudes about life? Why do some people have everything they wish for regardless of their degree of education, while other people who live in the same country at the same time are barely making ends meet? Why do some people spend their days at work in constant monotony and anticipation of weekends and holidays, while other people who work in the same workplace enjoy their jobs? Why are some people happy with their life in spite of the fact that, by generally accepted opinion, they do not really have many reasons to be happy, while many others spend their days in desperation although they seem to have everything one could wish for? Are the events of your life a sheer coincidence, or are they consequences of unalterable and determined destiny, or are you the one who creates the reality you live in? About the author. Tomislav Tomic is an author and life coach. He graduated from law school at the University of Zagreb, Croatia. From his high school days, he began to show a great interest in the major religions of the world, as well as various schools of philosophy. At the age of 18, he started to practice meditation, yoga and similar methods, which help to expand consciousness. He has researched these topics in depth and has been taught by experienced teachers. He lives on the island of Hvar in Croatia with his wife, son and daughter. For more information, visit www.tomic.com.